Yes. Oh, sorry.
My car is dead. I left the light on, and Donnie wasn't able to charge. So a tow truck's coming to take it to the dealership, see if I need a new battery. So I'm gonna. I have to be over there when they come. So I'm gonna be over there this way. Yeah, it's covered by my. I know I didn't get myself a cup of coffee because I had a 6:30 call. Lord, but anyways, I'm gonna be over there until they come.
Ashish, namaste. Good evening, I guess. If that is the appropriate word for evening. Yeah, you are muted. Yes, I can't hear. You have to unmute yourself.
My apologies. Sorry. Good morning to you and namaste.
Good morning.
I was just watching your Indian knowledge session webinar, the
Uh-huh.
second series. So it's interesting every time. I mean, though it's kind of a same concept, but every time you listen to it, my notes change. I pick up different things. And that's, I think, I don't know if it's the right way, but it slowly builds the understanding. It's a slow, laborious process as of now for me, but I'm enjoying it. And I think the life divine added another dimension to it. That's something that was invisible to me. So once I started reading it, it's kind of opened up a completely different perspective. Oops.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sorry. I'll fix it up later. The light went on.
Sure. I
Yeah.
can see you. Yeah. Yes, it is. It is a journey in itself, and I agree with you. There's always something to learn more and more, and there is no end to this learning because this system is just holding you within a specific language or the the toolbox. You have a certain, instruments of how you approach it, but behind it there is an understanding or deeper kind of experience, as it were, which is opening up, and there is no end to that opening. It will be more and more uh, rich and vivid, and you will my journey is continuing with the same schematics. Yeah, there's the the, uh, the approach is looking the same, but truly speaking, it's always opening up something new. And I'm just wondering where is the end to all that knowledge? Because knowledge itself is an experience. It's
Right.
like you get aha, or the moment which explains to you, which brings some sense or some presence into you.
So well, so while others come on board, two quick questions. One is that right now for me it's a lot of intake, but I do feel a need to express. I mean, we can do it in a limited way when we interact, but I've been debating whether to start. I don't know, maybe trying to write something or.
Yes, yes.
I mean,
It's very important for you to speak out and to you to articulate things in your way. Yes, it's
right.
absolutely important. Yes, I agree
Yeah.
totally. Mm.
And the second was if I need to start picking up Sanskrit at some point of time, because I think that will become a bottleneck.
Yeah,
Um,
it will be necessary one day. I don't know how you manage without Sanskrit. Truly speaking, I would not even imagine that somebody can do it without Sanskrit. Mm,
it's
it-
not easy, and it's very easy to be deflected in the wrong direction, and then you figure out it was because of the way it was translated
yeah,
or interpreted.
yeah. Language is, yes, is the major tool here. Correct. Good morning, Rashi, or good evening, I guess. Yeah, you're muted. Yeah, so if you unmute yourself, I could hear you also.
Good morning and good evening and good night. We are timeless now, Vladimir, in your class. No morning, no evening. No, 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 not allowed.
We can see that Ashish is in the night and I am in the morning and you are somewhere in the evening, I guess.
Yes.
All right, let's continue our journey, I guess. Let's start with mantra. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So last time we stopped here, we kind of spent a lot of time with this kind of scheme of karmendriyas and jnanendriyas, their relations to pancha mahabhutas, that the whole system of embodiment, the body itself, the whole nature is charged with the faculties of consciousness, which are constantly being exercised, and that creates our reality. So consciousness is inbuilt into our body, which we do not see because we are always looking at it from the kind of objective perspective, as it were. We are studying the body and we think that the body itself is like a mechanical something which kind of generates consciousness. This is materialistic approach to consciousness. Yes, matter first, and then it generates something which we may call consciousness. But it is not so. It could not generate any consciousness if it would not be there in the first place. Yes, it is just impossible to generate something which was not there. Right. It could be only revealed or manifested in some way. Somebody was explaining to me how our body works, our physical body, some biologist, microbiologist, and who is dealing with immune system and in immune cells. It seems that we have a numberless kind of infinite number of the immune cells which are generated mm, by our this soft bone structure. What is that called? That the within the bone there is this soft
Tissue,
brain. Huh?
the
The bone
tissues,
marrow. No, the
Yes,
bone marrow.
the bone
or the
marrow.
bone marrow.
Bone marrow generates our cells in the blood cells, all these, and not only in the blood cells, but all kinds of um, cells which are immune cells, which are fighting, which are establishing the balance within the body. They destroy all the viruses, they destroy all the bacteria which are excessive, which are not necessary. And there's number of infinite number, thousands and thousands of the names only of these cells, which are responsible for this or that or another action. If you think about it just for a second, how come we know nothing about it and it is functioning so effectively? It is working out all the interaction with the world, with all kind of creatures, bacteria, viruses, funguses, and so on and so forth, millions and billions of them, interacting with them, making them their helpers, allies, and enemies, and constant ongoing process living. So is there must be some consciousness in all of it. how, how come? Just nothing? Just by itself? It's just doing it by itself because it has nothing better to do. It's, it's not an explanation. There must be something which is responding to this or that vibration, doing this or that work, recognizing this or that bacteria, making the difference, killing this, promoting that. Consciousness is inbuilt within the physicality. That's what I want to say, especially within the organic matter. So here it is in Sankhya. These indriyas are inbuilt into our physical nature. And here there are karmendriyas, yes, those interactions with the outer nature, by the outer means, with the outer body to outer body, as it were. Now, but this is the Sankhya. It is the result of long process of evolution of consciousness and theory and vision. There was another paradigm, which was pre-Sankhyaik, what I call. And today we will deal with that paradigm, more ancient one. Pre-Sankhyaik paradigm of the Upanishads, ancient Upanishads, such as Taittiriya, Kena, uh, Aitareya, uh, Mundaka. So we will look into these prashna. They are dealing with faculties of consciousness in a different manner. They speak about three constant dvandvas, dualities or pairs, let us say. Manas and Vak, one pair, mind and word. They are also seen as father and mother, heaven and earth. Manas is heaven, Vak is earth, so to say. Later we will see this dvandva developing into the artha and shabda, the meaning and the word. Notice, meaning is manas, word is the Vak. So, and this meaning and the word constitute every reality of. So we have the form and we have the meaning of the form. Yes, as we were looking into it already. We have the vachaka and vachya, the signified and signifier later in the linguistics terms. General linguistics speaks about signified and signifier. So signified is the object which is being signified by signifier, which is the word. And they go together, the meaning and the form, nama and drupa. Here we have it, manas and vak in active terms. Now the split of the meaning and the word created the universe. They are one and the same in the highest plane, in the supramental plane. The meaning and the word, the expression of that meaning go together. If you remember, some of you may know Christian literature, the Gospel from John. At the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Now, that word, which was God at the beginning, why at the beginning? Because later that word traveled away from God. There was a gap created between the meaning and the word. There was a split of heaven and earth, got split, and that split created the universe. We have the same idea in Bhartrihari, Vakyapadiya. At the beginning was Brahman, Shabda Brahman. Yeah? That Shabda Brahman was identical to the spirit. It wasn't different from the spirit, from Brahman. And then the difference became more and more obvious. We have the same story in Patanjali Mahabhashya about the creation in terms of that Indra, the lord of the divine mind, was learning Sanskrit from Brihaspati, the lord of the divine word. Brihaspati was the first teacher of the gods. He taught them Sanskrit. Now, when Indra, his first student, was learning Sanskrit from Brihaspati, he understood that he will never learn this Sanskrit because it is infinite. In what sense it is infinite? Whenever Brihaspati pronounces the word, it is identical with its meaning. the meaning and the sound go together. So whenever Brihaspati speaks something, it is true in that moment of time. Can you imagine? It is always true. So whatever he says will be true in that moment of time. So, and since the world of consciousness and being is infinite, whatever he pronounces will be that infinite sound which will be covering the infinite being and will never deviate from the truth of the being. So the form and the meaning go together. So what Indra did, he understood that he will never learn Sanskrit from Brihaspati because it will go on and on infinitely. He will be constantly pronouncing new sounds, new words, new meanings, which will be actual in that moment of time, because there was no time yet. It was an infinity. So he stopped his infinite flow of speech, cut it into pieces, into grams, and created grammar. And this how it is the way how he could captivate the word. He could capture the word by cutting it by the mental categories of subject and object, of cause and effect, of causality, of different vibhaktis, of the karta, karma, karanam, sampradanam, apadanam, uh, sambandha, and adhikaranam. He created the categories, the mind, by which he could capture the word. Now think for a second, grammar. He created grammar. Indra is considered to be the first grammarian in Indian tradition. That's why Vyakaranam is called Aindram, belonging to Indra, the Lord of the Divine Mind. Why? Because only by mental categories he could capture the sound and make it actual to the meaning. Now, we don't understand speech without grammar. If I start speaking to you in Russian, you would not follow me because you do not know the grammar. So these sounds would not have any meaning for you. So you need through grammar to reconnect the sounds in such a way that they will lead you to the meaning. We don't understand the word without the grammar anymore. We need the structure. We need to understand where is the object, where is the subject, how they relate. And through that, we capture the meaning. Just look at this beautiful, simple story of Brihaspati and Indra, how they manifested the world. From now on, we can lie with the word. We can apply one sound to the meaning which is not applicable. There was a shift between the meaning and the sound. There is a gap between them. There is a pranic world, the world of antariksha, between heaven and earth, between meaning and the sound. And that creates all the fluidity and all the becoming in time and space what we have today. It is always kind of we are never precise. We are always approximate in the meaning. We are never precise in the meaning. Did you notice it? We can never pin down the meaning. It's always evasive. The moment you caught it, it's just disappearing immediately. You can't get it totally. This is the world we are living in. So that's why we speak so many words to create some sense of meaning. That's why this course is here also, to try to understand that evasiveness of meaning. So here you see this simple dvandva, manas and vak, speech and mind, or the artha and shabda, this meaning and the word. And the correspondence of the meaning in the word is the major topic of our linguistic studies. All linguistics is built on this, how the meaning and the expression of it correspond. Do they correspond? And not only that, the whole structuralism, post-structuralism, phenomenology, take phenomenology as a direction of philosophy. It's all about one thing, how meaning and the expression of it correspond. Nothing else. We don't have any other subject, no topic, only this. Are we true in our expression? Is there truth at all of any expression? Or it's just all some kind of, something which has nothing to do with the truth? No, it has something to do with the truth. And the more it corresponds, the more effective it becomes, the more true it becomes in its existence. So we are looking for the truth of expression. And that is the way how we evolve and manifest the world. Now, if you look at Chakshuch and Shrotram, seeing and hearing, we will see very similar relations. Seeing is more perceptive, Shrotram is more perceptive, Manas and Vak are more active anyway. So you will see immediately that seeing and hearing are two fundamental faculties of consciousness. Sri Aurobindo says they are major faculties. Seeing is apprehensive cognition, hearing is comprehensive. We apprehend, we recognize the thing, and we understand the thing. One is form, other is name. Form and name, nama and rupa, rupa and nama, two fundamental realities of consciousness. And prana and apana, breathing in and breathing out, this is the life force of the spirit which comes in, as it is said by nama and rupa. Brahman can embody itself in this world as prana, that split of heaven and earth, meaning and sound, created in between what we know as prana, antariksha. And that is how spirit could come into manifestation. So here they are, these three dvandvas, manas and vak. I put them into the opposite, chakshuk and shrotram, prana and apana. Notice that I located them in such a way that they would be corresponding exactly to these. On the right side, we see hearing and the word, which is perceptive and active part of nama, the name, the comprehensive cognition. And on the left side, manas and seeing, manas and chakshuch, thought and seeing, is the form, seeing the form and imagining the form, active and perceptive. So there's somebody calling here. I will come in a minute. Sorry, there was somebody at the door. Unexpected. So if you see this vision, it's quite unique in a way, because on one side you have The comprehensive, one are the apprehensive, and in the middle you have something like a life force, living prana, which is manifested in our body, annam. Annam is the embodiment of prana, animated matter, matter which lives, all those bacteria, all those cells which are evolving, developing, multiplying, growing, curing themselves, all that living matter. And not only in our own body, but all in the bodies of greenery, all the trees, flowers, they are reproducing themselves. Can you imagine? Trees are reproducing themselves. They create seeds. The seeds fall into the soil and they produce their own offspring, children. Incredible. Just think for a second. Why should they do that? Who made them doing it? Yeah? Why? So this is something very interesting, that prana is embodied, the life force is embodied within. And the moment pranic body leaves our body, we are, our physical system disintegrates. Disintegrates, becomes the food for other systems which are still alive. We become a food for the living systems, because we are not living anymore. Our prana has left that power which was holding and making sense, and blood was circulating and doing the work, and all the cells were alive, withdrew. And that's it. The spirit left us. That is the Christian way of saying. So that's what Vivekananda said in the meeting with in Chicago, when he said that Hinduism believes, you believe that spirit has left you. You breathe out the spirit. We believe we leave the body. So it depends how you see yourself, whether you leave the body or you breathe out the spirit. so Hinduism believes that we are prana, leaving the annam, and Christians believe that they are annam and their prana leaves them away. But you can see that prana and annam is that particular formation which we see today as the world, living world, but behind them there is this Brahma Chatushpad, Brahma on 4 pillars. And these are the 4 pillars, Manas and Vak, Chakshuch and Shrotra. These 6 major faculties are constantly mentioned in the Upanishads, constantly. Yes? It's starting with the Bhrigu who came to find out about the Brahman from Varuna, his father, and he hears this, Annam Pranam Chakshuch Shrotram Manovacham iti. The definition of the Brahman is these 6 major faculties. Notice there is no tasting and smelling, no taste and smell here. It's quite interesting. And though we have embodied state, it's somewhere there, but they are not emphasized. They are not made prominent as in Sankhya. Sankhya is more mental, more detailed. They try to see how it is really embodied in the physical. Here it is still a look from the consciousness point of view. Not yet that scientific, detailed, materialistic view on, or spiritualistic view on matter. And I think there is another reason, that those 2 lower, taste and smell, they are more belonging to the embodied state of consciousness more than, and these are the major faculties of consciousness which make this embodiment possible. Here they are. So I wanted us to look into them from another dimension or another perspective. So there are two different approaches to consciousness studies, we can say. One is about the faculties, which are on every level. And you will notice that these faculties can be found on every level. On the physical level, we have our physical body, we have our life force within that physical body, we have our instruments such as mind, we have our sight, our hearing, our word. Word is this, the whole system, tongue and eyes as organs, yes, and we have breath as organs, lungs. So the physical body built the physical organs for these faculties. Then when we move to the vital world, the same six will be there. There will be pranamaya purusha, there will be the being, Atman, of specific body, as it were, embodiment of the pranic energy. And it will have its own force, it will have its own power of concentrating the consciousness upon any object or any movement or any energy. It will have its own objective perception of that particular object of sense, and it will have its own comprehension and its own action, self-expression on that level. Now, you see, I deconstructed it in a different way. I don't speak about them as the word, hearing, seeing, and thinking anymore, because behind this thinking, there is some particular activity of consciousness. What is actually manas? How does it work? How mind works? What it really does? If we start thinking about it, we will see that mind has one particular capacity which makes it different from any other faculty. It is the faculty of concentration. I can focus my consciousness upon anything, upon the object of sense outside, inside, thought, word, sound, light, anything. I can fix it there, fix and hold at will. I can fix on this particular spot and neglect all other spots. I can do it even in spite of that this spot is not so important and others are more important. I can neglect them and hold this one particular spot. And that is the free will. When in the Vedas they speak about manas and manu, it is the power of free will. I can choose the object of my concentration at will. So this is something interesting. So I can even neglect the dangers of my life, yeah? And I can neglect something which I should not neglect and focus my consciousness on something which is insignificant. So that is the power I have. The power of the mind is the power to focus my consciousness on any object of sense. And that's how mind became prominent with Indriyas, why he became a synthesizer, because I can focus on specific detail of hearing. Some of you may did these mindfulness meditation, yes? And in that mindfulness meditation, you have that specific mindfulness power of the mind, to shift the attention from one detail to another, from one sound to more subtle sound, into more insignificant sound, and make it more significant than even that which is very loud sound. You can neglect the loud sound and find the small, soft sound and focus on it. This is the power of the mind. So when I speak about the mind, I don't speak about thinking. I think mainly about the power of focusing and holding consciousness in a particular focal point. Now, chakshuh, what is chakshuh in this deconstructed way? It is viewing thing as such. without any modification, without any preference from my side, knowing objectively the body or the being as such. What is word? Word is the power of self-expression. I can express my subjective being in a particular way. I can communicate myself to others or express myself. And it's not necessarily only the speech, the vocal speech. It can be any other speech, any other manner of expressing. I can express myself through body language, through my looks, through my silence, through dance, for example, uh, through theater. I'm coming back to Rashi. You can express, you can communicate yourself through many means. You can communicate something about yourself through music, through mathematics, through art, through paintings. You choose another language and you express yourself, and that is the word. The word is not the vocal only expression. It is any expression of the being. Yeah, that is the word. Now, I have to deconstruct it because then you will see the meaning of this scheme. Otherwise, it looks like we can only talk and see and hear. Yeah?
Vladimir,
Yes.
so does that mean that even the vibrations will be the form of word? They can be word?
All vibrations will be self-expressions in whatever form. Body language, painting, these would be vibrations. But the point is here is not that vibration is there, but that I put that vibration in a particular focus. I give it a particular meaning. I made it for the particular purpose to do some action. I communicated because I want something. I want something to happen. It's my will. It's the willpower. It's the logos which creates the worlds. It's a creative power of the world. I create by it. I express myself in such a way that it creates the world. So this is the word. So when we speak about new educational system, which we tried to do in our university together with Rashi, and didn't happen, of course. But the idea was to create and to train these faculties of consciousness in students, that they become aware of what instruments they have and how to use them consciously. So instead of having a class on literature, we would have a class of the word as a self-expression, and see how it works with different literary works, in poetry, in literature, in mantras, and so on and so forth, and also to learn about our own faculty rather than to learn about literature. So hearing, if you look at the hearing, it's a profound faculty of recognizing a particular vibration and knowing what that being really acquires or wants or looking for or communicating with. Through vibration, you know what the being wants, what it acts upon, how it does it. You know many more things. You know the characteristics which you cannot see from the form. Form will not tell you about it. It is something which the being wants. I was giving this example before. If you see the face behind the glass and the face tries to tell you something and you don't hear, then you see the face, you have a contact with the being, but you do not know what the being wants. And that belongs to the shrotram, that which is not there, but wants it to be there. So it is or acting upon in such a way that it will become there. So this is a very interesting comprehensive cognition. The meaning we gather exactly from this, what the being want, not what the being is, but what it wants to be. Uh, so this is something, if you look at this, Shrotram will have to do something with evolution of relations of different beings, and these relations become meaningful. So in social terms, it's like sociology. We study the bigger unit with many units inside, how they relate to each other. This is sociology. This is hearing, actually. We are learning about their relations, about their meanings, how they coexist in one reality. And on the scale of time, it can be history, how historically these beings develop relations in a meaningful fashion, and how these relations change in terms of time. So here, and prana is more that what we call feeling, emotions, and sensations, whatever. There are three types, but usually it is that life force in us which gives us a sense of living or experience, feeling. We feel ourselves in this way. We know ourselves in that way. And then the body. The body is the carrier of that self-knowing, self-feeling, self-sensing, sensing oneself, feeling oneself, and having emotions about oneself. So here we are. This is the full system. I don't think we need more than this to function properly, consciously. Yeah, if you have some questions, you can ask. Otherwise, I jump into the next section. I will show you where these are coming from. They are appearing from the secret operations of consciousness. That's why I was deconstructing them. It's step towards even more abstract vision of consciousness, how it acts upon us. So there is a link. Yeah. Yes, Rashi.
When we started and you talked about that every part also has its own purusha and its own perception and its own decision and and that is what my question was today, because I experienced it like today I was had channeling and healing sessions, and there was this very very serious ICU patient of lot of diseases plus COVID. And how it's like, and then I was working with a migraine patient, and then I was working with the autistic child. And it was as if whatever, and because I'm a channel, I'm nobody, I'm just conducting that, the orchestra. And then the different parts of their being kind of like the migraine person's, this whole side, the ear, the eye, the left side opened up and received this light, and this was like a different light. And this one, the cells opened up in somewhere else. And even though I was working on the lungs and the infection, the navel opened up and made a bridge to that, the whole tube of divine light. And I was like, okay, I know that I'm nobody and everything is happening on its own, but just to, I had a feeling that like every cell kind of knew every organ, because I was working on bodies, right? So I was like, every body part, every organ, every cell in it knew what it wanted and how, and also directed me into the second part. I mean, I thought I have to take care of the lungs because there is infection, but actually it was about solar plexus and the power thing that really caused the disease. And I was like totally, oh my god. And the vibration and the color and the frequency of the light and the sound that comes and is played and all of that. And then you just talked about this, so it is real, you mean? I mean, I'm not
It is
crazy.
totally real, absolutely real. And it's more real when you become aware of it, when you become conscious that actually there's so much more going on than we were thinking in our small mind of our black and white rationalization of things and dogmatization of everything and thinking that we know something. We know very little.
is not me. All that is not me. I never think
Right.
like that. But for me to experience the fact that when I say that the invisible is so much greater, wider, deeper than what we live, it's like every day I'm given glimpses of that, sort of a belief or sort of some sort of a surrender. And then for me to communicate it to anybody is just impossible. Now I can say, take Vladimir's class, he will teach you how. I can say
Well,
that.
Upanishads are giving us the tools, the Indian system of knowledge is giving us tools by which we can explain these unexplainable things to our mind, and it will not be bewildered, and it will be kind of systematically agreeing. Okay, and now I know. Now, if you look at this system, you will see that mind is not dominating speech and hearing and seeing as it is in Sankhya. It is one of the faculties, one of the pillars of Brahman, on which Brahman is established in this world. So, according to this language which we speak now, this is another language, yeah, pre-Sankhyayic. So, manas is the faculty to focus consciousness upon anything and hold it there, appropriate any object of sense, identify oneself with the object of sense, and know it by sense, by appropriation, knowledge by identity. Knowledge by identity is the knowledge which is generated by the manas, by the faculty of focusing, concentrating consciousness upon anything, any image of things, any object of sense. If you think about this, and Vivekananda spoke about this, he said, if I would only know that I have to learn only one subject, and that is the power of concentration of the mind, I would not waste my time learning many more things. Because by this power, you can know anything and everything. Why? Because when you appropriate any object of sense, you identify yourself with it, and through that you know. We know through knowledge by identity only. We cannot know anything otherwise. There's no way to know. Information which is not touching us is not knowledge. It's nothing. It's just an information.
Then, Vladimir, what is imagination? Because that means we already know everything, whatever we are imagining actually does not really exist. I mean, it really exists before we imagined it, right?
Imagination is the movement of that seeing within you in active way. If you can imagine that seeing is perceptive, when you see something you become kind of passive, immobile. You want to see, you perceive, yeah, you become nearly stopping movement, stopping breathing, because you want to see properly, deeply, hold, yeah, the thing, the image of things. But when you start actively seeing, it is imagining. So you move the forms within your mind, yeah, and that is imagining. So you start actively seeing, if it is possible to say, active seeing is imagining, and perceptive seeing or passive seeing is the seeing itself. The same with hearing. When we are hearing, we are not talking, we are not vibrating, we become like a mirror. We are penetrating into the depths. We create a silent space, silent foreground or background onto which the sounds will be projected, and then I will hear. But when I speak, I vibrate. So I'm actively hearing. I vibrate the sounds and I communicate. So in the same position, they are both, yeah? Seeing and speaking, sorry, hearing and speaking, and seeing and imagining or thinking. Thinking can be of two kinds. The thoughts are of two types. One is the image, and the other is the word. So when we catch the thought, we can catch it in the form of the image or in the form of the word. There are no other forms. Yeah? And of course, there is a sense, as you know. So these are three major accesses to reality through seeing, hearing, and touch. And we know it from educational psychology. There are only three types of people: yeah? Visual, tactile, and audio. It's quite funny. Yeah? Here they are. They are these three. You can see them clearly. Active and passive, active and passive, active and passive. Three accesses to reality. So I move forward. Sri Aurobindo says that there are secret operations in us, in our subconscious and superconscious selves, which precede this action he mentions there in the book. But of these we are not aware in our surface being, and therefore for us they do not exist. If we knew of them, our whole conscious functioning would be changed. Now, I want to go to these secret operations and to look into them and see how our functioning would be changed. So what are these? They are mentioned in Aitareya Upanishad. These are the essential or secret operations: samjnana, ajnana, vijnana, and prajnana. You notice that jnana is the knowledge. We call it jnana in Hindi, jnana in Sanskrit, to know. Sri Aurobindo translates jnana as self-realization, not knowing as Veda or Vidya. Vidya is discovering, and jnana is realizing oneself, being oneself in a particular state. That's the difference. Veda is a discovery, jnana is a self-realization. So some jnana, and you can recognize, you are all from India, you immediately can read this very beautifully. Some jnana, yes, and knowing totally, absolutely, yeah, from all sides, some together, knowing together. And this is the essential sense. We will look into them. Ajnana, a is towards, up to, applying. Yeah? Vijnana, knowing all the details, all the opposites. Prajnana, knowing forward as objective knowing. Let me look into these definitions, where they are coming from, how Sri Aurobindo defines them. He speaks about this in the Kena Upanishad. Now, the definition of consciousness coming here, the essential sense. Everything begins with vibration or movement, the original kshobha or disturbance. If there is no movement of the conscious being, it can only know its own pure static existence. It's quite clear. Without vibration or movement of being in consciousness, there can be no act of knowledge, and therefore sense. Without vibration or movement of being in force, there can be no object of sense. Coming back to our scheme, object of sense, rupa, is manas and seeing, chakshuh, and nama, the meaning, the consciousness, is hearing and the word. These two pillars, two fundamentals of seeing and hearing. Here they are coming together. Without vibration or movement of being in consciousness, there can be no act of knowledge, no understanding of what it is, and therefore no sense. Without vibration or movement of being in force, in power, there can be no object of sense which we have to understand. The signified and signifier, manas and vak, the vachya and vachaka. So now look at this, what Sri Aurobindo says. This is the next sentence, which is fundamental. Movement of conscious being as knowledge, becoming sensible of itself as movement of force. In other words, the knowledge separating itself from its own working to watch that and to take it into itself again by feeling is the basis of universal samjnana. This is true both for our internal and external operations, for all operations of consciousness. It's true. What it means, every object of sense has a sense in it, has consciousness in it. But when we approach it, we, as if we separate that consciousness away from the doings, from the workings of this consciousness, from its force, from its form which it created, and perceive it anew, again, as if we never saw this form, as if we do not know what it means. And that creates in us this universal sense, sanjnana. How do we know what is what? When we discover some truth, I say, "Oh, now I know what it is." Where does it come from? It was there before, only we discovered it. It was covered to us, as it were. But we discovered something we always knew. That's how we come to know anything. It is inbuilt in the manifestation. It is already there. That's why everything knows how to be. You know, this computer knows how to act, how to direct electricity in such a way that it creates those particular vibrations which generate the camera, make the camera work, and camera moves and gives the vibration to the air, and the air passes it to your receptacle, and you receive it, and you see me and understand me and hear me. Everything knows how to be, and that's how it can coexist together and act together upon each other. When we discover the meaning of anything, we recover it, as it were. So the movement of conscious being and knowledge becoming sensible of itself as a movement of force, in other words, separating the knowledge, separating itself from its own working, the consciousness separating itself from its own form, and taking it again into itself, as if by feeling, as to feel it, to identify with it, and to know it as if in you, is the basis of the universal sense. That's how our consciousness works. By the way, some jnana and consciousness is exactly the same etymologically, yes? To be sensible of it, knowledge by identity, to identify oneself with the object of sense and know it through feeling. This is amazing. Yeah, go ahead.
Vladimir, give a very normal, commonplace example, no? Like something we do on a daily basis. Just give
Sure.
something like that.
Here, it's next slide, exactly what you ask. I become anger by a vibration of conscious force acting as a nervous emotion, and I feel the anger that I have become by another movement of conscious force acting as light of knowledge. I am conscious of my body because I have become the body. That the same force of conscious being which has made this form of itself, this presentation of its workings, knows it in that form, in that presentation. I can know nothing except what I myself am. I have to identify with myself, whatever I want to know. There is no other way to know, only through myself. If I know others, it is because they are also myself, because myself has assumed these apparently alien presentations, as well as that which is nearest to my own mental center. All sensation, all action of sense is thus the same in essence, whether external or internal, psychic, physical or psychical. There is no other knowledge, only knowledge by identity.
Uh, Vladimir, just
Yes.
a little. But by identifying with oneself and others, are we not losing that bhava of observing and detaching from oneself and the other? Right?
Yes, in order for us to identify with others as ourselves, we have to know that the object of sense is independent from us, first of all. The moment we bring it in and identify with it, become it, we have to objectively know it. And we will come to it, and because we are looking only at samjnana, only one essential faculty. There is also ajnana, vijnana, and prajnana, and then simultaneously working together with samjnana. So the definition, I'm coming exactly to that what you're asking. Samjnana is the contact of consciousness with the image of things by which there is a sensible possession of it in its substance. If prajnana can be described as outgoing of apprehensive consciousness to possess its object in conscious energy to know it, samjnana can be described as inbringing movement of apprehensive consciousness, which draws the object placed before it back to itself so as to possess it in substance, in conscious substance, to feel it, to become it, to identify oneself with the object of sense. So there are two movements of apprehensive consciousness. One is inbringing, appropriating, feeling it, knowing it as oneself. And the other is outgoing to the object as such and knowing it as such, different from myself. These are two simultaneous movements of consciousness. One is impossible without the other. I will continue. It will come. It will come. Prajnana is the consciousness which holds an image of things before it as an object, not as a subject. Object separate from it, with which it has to enter into relations and possess by apprehension and analytic and synthetic cognition, to analyze it, to see what parts it is made of. Okay, there is one part, there's another part. It's not me. It's not me feeling it. I don't feel it. And for me to do this, I need to identify it with myself. Otherwise, I will not be able to hold it in the focus, to hold my consciousness upon it, to analyze it. I cannot analyze it if I'm not identifying it with myself, holding it within my proximity, within my reach. I jump into two more comprehensive movements. Vijnana is the original comprehensive consciousness which holds an image of things in its essence, totality, and parts and properties. It is the original, spontaneous, true, and complete view of it, which belongs properly to the supermind, and of which mind has only a shadow in the highest operations of comprehensive intellect, comprehensive consciousness. No more apprehensive. There is no object of things, there is no image of things and object of sense which is brought into my proximity. It's not apprehensive movement in bringing or outgoing, it's comprehensive movement of understanding how this thing becomes a part of the totality, how it interacts with other things, on what ground and what it does and what it does not and why. It is all that which which comprehensive vijnana is simultaneously present in any action of consciousness. And there is ajnana, the important one. Ajnana is the operation by which consciousness dwells on an image of things so as to govern and possess it in power. Govern and possess it in power. To violate, to appropriate, to take, to reject, to push, to destroy, whatever. I have to possess the object by power, my comprehensive power. I have to know what I'm doing with this object and why I'm doing it. So now I want to show you how these four are present simultaneously in any action, physical or vital or mental or any. So if I tell you that I take my glasses off, I'm doing with glasses usually because this is the immediate what is visible. I take them off and put them back. Now, for me to take these glasses off my nose, I have to fix my consciousness upon this object of sense, this image of things. I have to know that it is me because it's identified with me, and it is not me because it's an object which has its own being, and I can move it and deal with it objectively. So these are two apprehensive movements. I identified with these. I already sense them. I sense them as myself. I sense them on my nose, on my head. I feel their weight. I see through the glasses. I have a contact with them, and I know that they are not me. This is two movements of samjnana and prajnana. Now, by comprehensive vijnana, I know that they are needed for me to see better, that I know that my hand can reach out, I know it by vijnana, and take them off, press on the side, I know it, my fingers know it, I know it, and I know that I can pull it off and put it away on the table. I know that the table will handle it. I know it already. It's not visible there, but I know it by something within me. And I know that I can put it back. And for me to do it, I need ajnana. I need this operation by consciousness, which is over the image of thing as to govern and possess it in power. I need to apply power. I have to pull it out and I have bring it back. Now, when we do such a simple thing as remove our glasses, all these four operations are inbuilt into it. Otherwise, we will not be able to do anything of the kind. Just think about it.
Vladimir, give one more example. Suppose there was a plate with chocolate cake. All four. No, because I have to understand.
So chocolate cake is a very attractive proposition. Desire may kind of deviate us from the action of consciousness because we want to try chocolate cake. But let us take, and so what do you want with chocolate cake to do? The moment I saw the chocolate cake, suppose I saw it, yes, what has happened to me? I saw it, so I fix it upon myself, so my consciousness is fixed upon it. I can already feel the sweetness of it. I can kind of appropriate the image. I could feel the softness, or the hardness, or whatever, the sweetness. Um, I'm in myself, though I didn't even taste it yet. So I focused upon it. And now I recognize that that object is not me at the same time. Yes. And I feel it already as myself. These are two apprehensive. Now, comprehensive, I know that I can take a knife or take my hand into this soft tissue. I know it somehow. And I can, with my fingers, pull out and put it into my mouth, and it will be very sweet. I know it before even doing it. This is vijnana. And for that to do and to know that I can do it, I need that jnana. It's already inbuilt. It's automatic, instinct. Every movement, as Sri Aurobindo says, outer or inner, physical or psychical, is requiring these four secret operations of consciousness about which we are not aware. And he says, if we would be aware of them, our conscious functioning would change. And I kind of challenge you in this case, if you try to observe everything in the world in these four major dimensions or actions of operations of consciousness, you would see that you are becoming of many more things, aware of many more things in the world and how our consciousness operates. That consciousness is everywhere, in everything, in insects, in plants, in stones, everywhere, in all beings.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it what Sri Aurobindo, how he describes overmind, supermind, intuitive mind? Is it that?
These are the levels or layers of consciousness, supermind. These are the functions of consciousness which are found on every level, from the highest to the lowest. And I think that they generate what we call mind, hearing, seeing, and speech. Ajnana is our action of self-expression, which creates this, which Ajnana is creating the logos, the willpower, the word to speak, yeah? The word that knows, the word which violates and creates the worlds. Vijnana is our comprehensive understanding of how all things relate, yeah? Which is reflected in our hearing faculty. Yeah? Prajnana is our seeing faculty, knowing thing as such. So objectively seeing thing, not being identified with it, knowing it by analytic and synthetic cognition rather than knowledge by identity. And finally, samjnana is that very faculty of the mind of self-identity, focusing consciousness on any image of things and appropriating it, feeling it within oneself. So these are the secret operations which are standing behind these major faculties which we know as thinking, seeing, hearing, and speaking. All of them, all these four are simultaneous, and all of them are necessary for manifestation of any action. So hearing has all of them, seeing has all of them, thinking has all of them, and speaking has all of them, but in a particular constellation where one dominates the others or stands out or, becomes more prominent in a way. Now, this is a very, very far away topic, but it is the most interesting topic for me to know how to see how Sri Aurobindo deals with consciousness and how we can use this knowledge of Upanishads, yes, because this is the vision of the Aitareya Upanishad, of samjnanam, ajnanam, vijnanam, prajnanam, medha, drishtir, dhritir, shruti, smriti, sankalpa, kratura, sukra, kamo, vasha, iti, sarvanyevaitani, prajnanasya nama dheyani, bhavanti. He gives the whole list of the faculties of consciousness where yet etad hridaya manaschaitat, what is the heart, that is the mind, manas. And then he gives samjnanam, ajnanam, vijnanam, prajnanam, medha, drishti, dhriti, medha, drishti, dhriti, manisha, jyutih, smritih, sankalpah, kratur, asuh, Kamo, Vasha, iti sarvanyavaitani prajnanasya namadhyani bhavanti. He gives the whole list, four of which are the major faculties of consciousness. And these four, which determine everything else which follows. We can look into it later when we will study Aitareya, and we will come to Aitareya in our studies, because that would be kind of the proper place to discover other faculties which are following these major secret operations. But these are fundamental. They are. Anyhow, this was the topic of today. I wanted you to see how deep the hole goes, and then we will come back to them in the view of the faculties of consciousness. So how our mind operates, how our seeing, hearing on each of these levels. When you mention overmind, supermind, mind, and so on, we speak about these six faculties present on each level. If you imagine this is the trunk of the tree and we make a cut of the tree, so there are cuts on each level, and the same faculties are presented on each level, on the vital, on the mental, on the supramental, because these are the major faculties of consciousness, of apprehension, comprehension, and the being. Being which is in the form and the meaning, in the rupa and nama, you know, in the formation and understanding of that expression. These two are constantly present on every level of consciousness, from the supramental till our physical consciousness. And you can see it, Sri Aurobindo speaks about manas, mind, as supermind, overmind, intuitive mind, higher mind, yeah, or illumined mind, higher mind, proper mind, vital mind, physical mind. So mind going from the highest to the lowest. We can see the same with Shrotram, with hearing. Shruti is the highest revelation, you know, or inspirational knowledge, which we see, which we have on the supramental plane. And then the hearing comes down to our ears as the organs, physical organs, where on the physical plane we also have the sense of vibration. The same with word. We start with paravak, pashyantivak, madhyamavak, and vaikharivak. On all the levels there is a power of self-expression. The same with the seeing. Drishti is a revelation of the truth, where you see the face of the Lord, as it were. And then the seeing on each level till the physical eye. And the same with the sense of nature, or what do you call it, with the life energy on each level and the embodiment on each level. So this is the mystery of Upanishads, that these six faculties are not only the indriyas of our physical being, they are present on each level. Okay, I will stop here. I think I overdid quite a bit. I can feel it in my voice. When my voice is going off, I know that I'm doing extras, which are not necessary. But I wanted to cover this topic today, so we are finished with it. If you have some questions for later, you can think over, and maybe next time we will make an interactive session. Ashish was suggesting that we could try to come back, that you would speak, you would discuss. Let us make next session discussion session, okay? On these topics of Sankhya and pre-Sankhyaik paradigm, how they are different and how they are similar. Okay? Do you agree with this idea?
We
Yeah.
have to basically study everything and then get ready like that, right?
No, you have to discuss, you have to question, you have to put into, yeah. I don't think that you have to study it and then to deliver. I don't want you to do that. I want you to
For
discover
me,
it.
every class is like a, like for me, it's like a complete thing. So I absorb it. So I don't remember it in sequence, everything that we learn. I
Don't
meant
need
that
to.
way.
Please forget about sequence. You have to come to in terms of understanding of something, or some opening which will cause some questions, and we will discuss those questions. And that's the only thing, because this is not possible to know by remembering, or it has to be understood. All right, great. Then next time we have interactive session. So lovely. We will discuss these topics. So you prepare your questions, you prepare your propositions, your overviews. Everyone will make some overview, what you learned, what you didn't learn, what you understood, what you didn't understand. So just that would be very valuable. You will see that your articulation of these things will help you to understand better. All right, great. So I'm closing with mantra. I'm always over time nowadays. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santo Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. See you. Bye.